Oh,
Sure.
make sure it works.
Oh, I forgot to.
Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Good.
Jenny, what you saw? Hey. Okay. Next time.
We just inclined, Peter.
Well, you just rushed me out. Hey, Ian.
Look at that, jeez. Quart, about a quart of tea with her.
What?
Yeah.
See,
Got a handle.
I wouldn't. I forget the cup. You got the. I just go right.
Who
to
knows
the jug.
what's in there?
Jack
I know.
Daniels.
Do you have some cups for us?
Yeah, right.
You want to share?
Jack Daniels. You heard about him. He's the councilman in that. Yes, he's right there. Hey, it works, Councilman Jack. It works. It works good with a cigar. I'm telling you every time. I know he does. Smoke him on after. Yeah, but okay.
Mr. Klein, Peter, where are you at?
Didn't he come out?
Came in left.
Well, we could get the other stuff started till he gets here.
We'll wait. We'll give him a minute. We'll give him a minute. I guess we're not in that big of a rush. Take your time.
Go.
Take your time. You gotta love earlier executive sessions. I feel like it throws everything back. I feel like it.
Well, it makes it end though.
It does make it end.
Yeah, but then we got another executive session.
Okay.
Oh, you're late. You're gonna have to stay after school.
We'll give Miss Lloyd a second.
So that sign is never done. I don't know if you can raise that up and maybe move it down a little bit and put no parking there. And I don't know if it's on. So we took one of them down and didn't park. They had one here at the bottom of the hill and had one. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. At this time, I would like to call to order this March 5th, 2024 meeting. Would you please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance and moment of silence?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Here.
Here.
Here. Here. Here. Here.
Here. Thank you. At this time, I'd like to report on our latest executive session. We discussed matters of litigation. No action was taken. At this time, do I have public comment on agenda items?
Chief Whitebread, Middletown Fire Department, would request the opportunity, if needed, to speak upon item number 12.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Any other any other public comment on agenda items?
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Benson. I reside at 1005 Vine Street, Middletown, Pennsylvania. I'm here to talk about number 11, the signage.
Okay.
My only thought on that is, if you're going to do something in the borough of Middletown, why are we the last to know about what's being done? Okay, you get no public input whatsoever, and you go about things just like downtown with the bricks that were in the street. You went ahead with that, exorbitant amount, and then you have to turn around, you have to redo things. What I'm saying is, if you're really going to do something for the town, really take the time to consider something that's going to be tasteful, that's going to improve the town, and not take away from it. The signs that you had originally, those wooden signs, they're attractive, but a metal sign is not going to do anything for the borough. I'd sooner you don't do anything at all and let it go if
Very
you're going
fair
to go
point.
with that. And that's my personal opinion. You know, Middletown's a great town. Middletown has great possibilities, but it just seems like nobody puts the input into it. We can't get business here. I don't know what the drawback is. You got a major campus here. You got the train station, things and the train station, and you can't get business here. I don't get it. Other towns don't have the things that we have in this town, and I think we need to work on that. Another thing we need to work on is the square. The square is horrible. You know, I offered the last year to go in there. I would buy things for the planners. I'd re-landscape it. No one ever got back to me. I would do it just to get back to the town. But it's something that needs to be done. The square looks horrible. That is where you come into the town of Middletown. And Middletown is a great town. I've lived
Absolutely.
here all my life, and I would like to see it flourish. I would like to see improvements made to make the town look better.
Excellent.
All right?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other public comments? Thank you. Agenda item number 1.
Do I have a motion to approve council meeting minutes for the February 20th, 2024 meeting as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Kluskevich. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Oppose? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2.
Do I have a motion to approve payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated February 29th, 2024 for the period of February 16th, 2024 through February 29th of 2024, and to ratify the approval of such bills already paid and to authorize the appropriate officials to take the required actions to make those payments?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Kluskevich. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3.
Okay, item number 3 is Woodland Hills. Do I have a motion to approve a $590,681 reduction in HT Partners letter of credit number STB 588 for Woodland Hills phases 4, 5, and 7, leaving a remaining balance of $990,623, and also to approve an $828,172 reduction in HT Partners letter of credit number STB 883 for Woodland Hills Phase 6B and 10B, leaving a remaining balance of $2,497,904.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Reed, second by Councilor Kluskevich. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4.
Do I have a motion to approve the special event request submitted by the Middletown Area Historical Society for the annual Arts and Crafts Fair on June 8th, 2024, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Hoffer Park?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Lister, seconded by Vice President Willenbecker. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Opposed?
abstain.
Opposed? Motion carries with one abstention. Agenda item number 5.
Do I have a motion to approve the special event request from Brittany's Hope for the use of Hoffer Park as a rest stop for their Biking for Brittany fundraising event on June 20th, 2024, from 7:30 a.m. to 3 p.m.?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Kluskevich, second by Counselor Reed. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 6.
Do I have a motion to approve the special event request to hold Nerf Club events at the field in front of Hoffer Park along Mill Street from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Saturdays, March 30th, April 27, May 25, June 29, July 20, August 31, September 28, and October 26, 2024, with Sundays of those months designated as the rain date?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Kluskevich, second by Counselor Lister. Any questions or comments? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 7.
Do I have a motion to approve the special event request submitted by St. Peter's and Mara to hold an Earth Day celebration on April 27, 2024, from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. in Hoffer Park?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Kluskevich, second by Counselor Reed. Any questions or comments? Ms. Lloyd?
On this application, they don't have anything marked under the certificate of liability insurance. Like if you look at the other ones, is
Oh.
there?
I didn't see that.
No, I was waiting for Ken to look, that's all. Will they provide it or,
It's a Mara event. I think that makes a difference.
well, it's not under Mara though, it's under St. Peter's. Because if it was under Mara, then wouldn't it come through as a community event?
1 second. Ken? Ken's wheels are turning. I see it. They're spinning.
Now, we could
Yeah, it
approve
doesn't have
the
Mara on
condition.
the application.
You say it is
Signing, right?
It's not.
So the signer is,
a celebration with Mara and St. Peter's,
Yeah.
it says.
the signatory is only from,
From
Do
St.
we-
Peter's.
Do we want to sign, do we want to approve it upon getting,
Second signature from Mara,
sure?
Yep. I'll modify the,
Amend your motion?
which we are a part of.
Okay, I'll second.
Good catch, Counselor Lloyd. So we amended the motion to add a signature for Mara. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Oppose? I'm sorry, did you have something else?
No.
Oh, oppose? Motion carries. Excellent. Agenda item number 8.
I have a motion to adopt resolution 2024-10, appointing Tim Hippel to the zoning hearing board, filling the vacancy of Elizabeth Eldridge with a term to expire December 31, 2026.
so moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Kluskevich, second by Counselor Reed. Is there any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Agenda item number 9.
Do I have a motion to accept Anthony Kelly's letter of resignation from the planning commission?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Kluskevich, second by Counselor Lister. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Oppose? Motion carries. Agenda item number 10.
Do I have a motion to approve the electric building feasibility study, number R00516.0514, as proposed by HRG in the amount of $34,500 using budgeted electric engineering funds.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Counselor Kluskevich, second by Counselor Reed. Any questions or comments? Counselor
Actually,
Lewin?
if I could ask Mr. Wilcox,
Ask away.
I just want to make sure that I'm clear because obviously this is a lot of money for a study, which does kind of have me a little hesitant. But I believe one of the things that you had said when you presented this was that the hope is that this is going to be done and a permanent, long-term solution for the department, correct?
That's what,
And
that's the
everything would be moved
intention.
there and it would solve your issues long-term, not something, this isn't going to just be like a 10-year.
Correct.
Okay.
That's the whole reason for having the study rather than me just throwing up another building and not meeting my demands.
To do it correct the first time
Correct.
as opposed to.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hold on, Greg. Does anybody else have any questions? I have a question. So this study, is this to look at the borough globally or just to look at the existing infrastructure down at the police station where that structure is to adding a new structure? Or is it?
It's actually to look at the electric department's needs for all the moving stock, for all the indoor equipment that's scattered, and to see if anything can be done down there. And as I talked to Josh on the phone, I mean, they would, their first step is to even see if there are any restraints as far as setbacks, things like that, that it's going to be a no-go to begin, and it's not going to cost that amount. This is just that's off the retainer. If they put 2 hours into it and say, no, you know what, you can only build a building here that's this long, you need to go to a different direction.
But this isn't a
But this
study
is strictly for that site.
strictly for that site. So it's not going to look at all of your infrastructure over the borough and say, you know, this could be a spot or this could be a spot. It's just looking at the existing location and expanding the existing location.
Yeah, it was the location that we came up internally that made the most sense and sounded like it would be the most cost effective to do this rather than going out and say, let's just build a new complex somewhere. People don't like to hear that. Taxes are, you know, what they are. This is to get equipment that's outside, inside.
So
And
I guess my point is, if you already have a location in mind, which is the existing site,
correct.
it is what it is. You know, we can do a little bit of due diligence on what the setbacks are and then just throw the biggest structure you physically can up. So if you're only allowed a 30 by 30 or 50 by 50 structure based upon the existing zoning, just throw the structure up. I don't need a study to tell me that. I mean, I want to spend the money.
It's more than that. It looks at what we have. So it's not just about putting a building up. It really does. It looks at the needs in what's there now, including utilities that are on that facility to get at least the guys a bathroom down there. You know, can you put a facility down there onto that addition that will add an office for their supervisor, that will add a bathroom and a break room for the guys, and house all your equipment that we currently have. And it also looked at future, you know, is there anything that you're going to do different, bigger bucket trucks? Our poles are going higher because of all the telecommunications that are going on. So, you know, when that stuff happens, your trucks get bigger, and like the fire department knows, your doors got to get bigger and things like that. So your buildings get bigger. It really looks at all that.
I get it. I guess what I'm getting at is the existing site is what it is. It's not going to change. So you're limited to already what you can build there as far as space wise.
Well, that's what they're looking at. I mean, is there potential for other things? You know, in that area, there's some lots in the back there and things like that. So there's potential for that.
Like doing lot consolidations and making the site bigger?
Possible. You know, how was that the back drive handled? You know, was that given to
Gotcha.
the property owners and things like that?
Nope. All right. Yeah, sounds like a plan. Those are all my questions. Anybody else have any other questions?
I got a question. So this study goes through, are they going to give you then like a end result of this is what you should do, this is what you can do, this is how we're going to build it?
Correct. And they'll actually, the end result is if everything works like they think on the site, they'll actually do a preliminary architectural design and get a concept design, and get you a general cost of what it would. And that's always the biggest council, or biggest thing councils are going to want to see. The bottom line is what's the cost? How can we do this as efficiently as possible? And that's what they're part of the scope of this project is. Okay, if we can fit all of your assets that the borough has for the electric department in this spot, in one campus, as they were before the police department moved in, then, here's going to be the conceptual design that it has to be, and here's going to be what the approximate cost. And then from there, council will move on. Okay, do we want to spend this
X
on
dollars.
that? So that would be the next step.
Okay.
So each step of the way is going to cost the 35,000 is, I think you said, a retainer basically for each step they'll bill us. But if, let's say, at task 1E, it's a no-go, then
The way it was described is it's pretty much the development site plans are pretty close to what architecturally design would be. So, I mean, if it's something that the borough says, okay, I think we can undertake this project without going through an architect or whatever, but at least it's going to give you an idea of what it's going to take to get us out of 4 or 5 different places. And house, we have another bucket truck coming up here in the next year and a half, so be able to house that new equipment.
That makes me feel, because I'm sure just looking at the cost of a study, it makes me sick to see that we would have to spend that money.
I understand.
But if you're saying we're going to get an end result of like what we would pay an architect to come up with.
It's all, everything's, is that process.
Well, you're not. You're getting concept plan.
A concept.
Yeah, you're not.
Nothing
gonna get
stamped.
built.
So
it wouldn't be stamped drawings,
Nothing
but
stamped.
it would be.
Limited to 2 concepts at each phase. Is it an hourly after that?
But it's actually like a step that you're eliminating when you want to go through an architect anyways. This process.
At each one of those tasks, there's a maximum of 2 concepts assumed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where if you remember, like when we were doing the substations, like, well, why don't we move it over to here?
Yeah.
Why don't we?
Correct.
So is this turned into hourly as soon as you go past the assumed maximums at each step?
That's a question for Josh, but the way Josh sounded like he was very confident that this is not a project that goes over that, what you're saying. And that, in the end result is if things are, it's going to be hourly. This is off the retainer, so.
So each task comes off of that retainer, but it's billed hourly?
He said if the way he described it, if they initially find out that this is not going to work, it'll go no further. You're not being billed $30,000. So.
At that point, we'd be billed for what they had into
What
it
they
hourly.
already had into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a 35. At the end, if they do take it to the finish line, we will pay $35,000.
Correct.
And that would give us X amount of concepts per phase.
And ideally, that's what we would want, yes. We would want this to go to the end, so we're not wasting our time on another area or, so. We've been beating this thing around for 8 years now, and sooner or later, and Matt's finding out, he's having issues, and we're all kind of.
Well, I gotta say, that's, my hesitation in voting yes tonight is, for better for worse, your coming forward with this has sort of prompted some discussion that would be more focused on real estate, appropriate to an executive session discussion. But it has prompted for the idea of looking globally. because there are other space issues, yes, yours is definitely one of them. But there are others that I just wonder if we could have a couple more weeks to have some discussion around real estate and executive session to come back to this. It's not, that's where I'm at. That's why I probably won't vote tonight for it. I would ask for the grace of a few more weeks, next month, until we can sort of just chew on some other issues that we know are coming up.
Yeah, and I understand
If you don't,
what you're thinking.
yeah.
I'm fine. I mean, this is something you don't want to rush, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
Yeah,
I'm not
if-
saying
if
I
it's
don't
something-
understand the
and
need.
like I said, we had some emails back and forth here, and I put out to all you, you're more than welcome, and I'll take you really quick if you wanted to each site and just give you a quick, open up a door and let you look in, just to see what we're dealing with, both Matt and myself. But from day one, I think HRG, when they did all their initial studies, I think a complex was like high on their priority list for the borough.
Right.
And with how landlocked we are, and really the issue
Yeah.
of finding property or where you can put it that you're not interrupting neighbors and things like that is really tough in the borough. So to
So
me,
if
this
you're-
was my solution that we talked about for this problem. But we can certainly,
No,
I know what came up in your talk,
Yeah.
and
So if we
that's
could
fine,
just
because
push
that
it
would
off
have
to next month to come back to this, if there's no rush.
yeah, because
Okay.
that would probably change the whole
It could.
Dynamics of things.
dynamics of this.
It
And it's probably smart to wait
Yeah.
until you have come to a conclusion on that property.
And I'm definitely, for the record, not opposed to spending the money.
Okay.
It's not a money thing for
No,
me.
I get it.
I'd rather give you the money just to build the biggest structure you can down there temporarily if you needed to. Like, it's not a money thing.
Yeah, I just don't want temporary. I want
know.
something that's going to last for the residents. We don't have to keep doing this every 30, 40 years. They have a metal building. Well, the borough owns a metal building at the highway. And how old is that, Matt? Late 70s. And
I
that
get it.
thing is about
How many holes are in it?
too many.
There's a lot of holes in the
gonna-
bottom.
So,
Huh?
there's
What'd you say?
my ideas of a brick and mortar and what would last are different than, people that actually do that job and architects. And that's not my.
Mr. I do, thank you very much. We do have a motion and a second on the floor. At this time, Madam Secretary, would you call the roll?
No.
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 not tonight.
Sorry, Greg, but we're going to talk more about
get
this.
We should have probably just pulled it off the thing.
We're going to talk more about this. This is
Okay.
important to us.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. Thank
Thanks.
you.
Agenda item number 11.
Do I have a motion to authorize the highway and property superintendent to purchase gateway sign option number 1 at a cost not to exceed $5,000 from the grounds maintenance budget?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilor Kluskevich and a second by Councilor Reed. Any questions or comments?
So at our last meeting, when these signs were brought up, there was no discussion on putting this on the agenda.
That's
In
correct.
fact, the directive was for Matt to go gather some more information, which is noted in the meetings, and I quote, "After some discussion, Mr. Miller is to provide information as to the placement of signs." Now, I'm not saying I'm in favor of any sign either way. What I'm saying is, where is the additional information, and why are we voting on something that wasn't agreed to be on the agenda? Now it's on the agenda, and we were not given, no fault of yours, the information that we requested.
That's accurate, yes. I guess the answer is I did decide to put it on the agenda upon overwhelming requests from other counselors. So at their wishes, I did place it on the agenda so we could all discuss it.
Can I ask a
And I-
question? Okay, you start.
I understand that's your prerogative as president, but it's setting a bad precedent of this body. And I'm going to vote no because what's the point of having a discussion, agreeing to put something on the agenda, asking for more information, and then we're going to go have sidebar conversations and decide that we want to vote on something without having all the information.
I agree.
And as president, you have the right to say no.
I know. I
Matt,
do appreciate the feedback. I really do.
Matt, did you by any chance come up with any new concepts?
The difficulty with coming up with the concepts are, and it's the same as reaching out to other places to potentially put signs. I would need to have an idea of what the sign's going to consist of, because just cold calling people and saying, would you be interested if we look at putting a sign on your property? I think the first question would be, what's it going to look like and how big is it going to be? And until I think I would get some guidance on that aspect of it, I mean, the Elizabethtown sign that has been mentioned was $40,000. It was not paid for by Elizabethtown. It was completely, it's not even in Elizabethtown.
That's in West Donegal Township.
It was paid for by the owners of that facility. The other sign that's in Elizabethtown, I believe, was paid for by Mars because they had to expand that intersection. So Mars paid for the other sign that is in town.
Have we reached out to any other entities in town to help for funding on our signage? I mean, we got 5 signs consisting of $5,000. They have 1 sign consisting of 40,000.
Which, by the way, is a billboard-sized sign.
It is.
It is. It's a large sign. There's no doubt about that. The other issue that we have is we don't have a lot of nice, flat, open land coming into this town from any direction. The Union Street, there's nothing flat on Union Street coming into town, unless you put it up near the entrance to the school driveway. You know, as it starts going up the grade gets higher, so there's a slope to get over the turnpike. Coming in from West Main Street, there's nothing on this side of the road. It's the train tracks, and then it's a steep hill the whole way across the train property. Coming in from East Main Street, we do own that parcel there, and that sign could be placed on what I kind of call the island. It's between the Mill Race and the Swadera Creek. We own that there. I think there's a buried AT&T cable in there somewhere that we would have to do one calls and go through the design process for. Coming in Ann Street, we have that little landscaped area. That's about the only place it could go there, or else you're at the creek bridge already. It's just really, we don't have a lot of conducive flat land.
Sounded like there was a couple options though. You rattled off.
But can I say something? I mean, if we're going to get into like a landmark sign, I think we're going to need to engage an engineering professional, somebody, you know, that has that skill set to locate where that can go and what it's going to look like. I mean, that's, you know, what you have before you hear from Matt now is come from a sign shop. That doesn't come from Matt. So I think somebody asked him to look at getting new signs, and it was discussed at a workshop what he could do, and that's what he presented to you. And now there's this discussion whether we should have one that's nicer and more involved. And I don't think Matt can answer those questions. I mean, he knows PennDOT right-of-ways, and, you know, from his experience, he knows about slopes and what thing, but you can make things work even in sloped areas if you want, but you're going to have an engineer to look at that. So if we're serious about doing that, maybe it's time to engage somebody, some engineer where you'd like to see one of those, and ask them to propose a concept to us.
The PennDOT portion is, I mean, I get it. This is the size of those signs. I obviously didn't cut out the little details, but that's the size of the sign. Sorry, it was the quickest thing I could come up with this afternoon. You know, Yeah, Ken's completely right. Once we get out of the right of way, we have to adhere to private property issues, which are going to be easements. I would prefer that they be recorded easements rather than handshake agreements, because we're dealing with someone's private property.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
that
we
could
need
be
either easements or licenses.
That could
Probably
be
have to indemnify the
plat and illegal.
property owners.
Yeah, you could be getting into some survey to actually define that easement area. There would be legal agreements that the solicitor would.
Well, I guess, Matt, before we go down a rabbit hole,
Mm-hmm.
at the 50,000 foot view, we're talking about signs. Obviously, we know if we want to go left, there's details that have to be figured out. If we want to go right, we just write a check for $5,000 and put five signs up. So at the 50,000 foot view, that's kind of where we're at right now. I guess for me personally. Oh, what, does anybody else have anything they want to chime
do.
in? Or?
I am one of the counselors who distinguishes these signs, which are entrance signs along roadways, and the signs that you just referenced in Elizabethtown and Hummelstown as something more appropriate to our square. If we want to have a conversation about doing something better at the square, I would be all in for that. But I don't think it's the same conversation as trying to get signage on PennDOT property to welcome people to our town. And so for that reason, I will say I was one of the counselors who felt that you pursuing talking to private owners, getting right of ways, going to an engineer for more signs wasn't the best use of our time and money, because we have talked about wanting to do more at the square.
Right.
So that's just, transparency matters. I would be happy to welcome people into our town on PennDOT approved signage that I think represents our town well. And if we want to talk about something, grander, thank you, Rachel, Councilor Reed, grander, I feel that is a different location and a different conversation, one that I'm open to.
I agree. I mean, I
Yeah.
know as people have noted, that the square has been discussed for the time I've been here and probably for years before that.
Right.
Yes.
It's not the most attractive square. This was to get signage that would look nice and be much better than the rocks that we have.
Yeah.
This is a relatively simplistic, good price point to do it. I would agree. If you want, like Hummelstown has a fountain in their square. They have a lot of different things in their square. We kind of have a square identity problem here too.
Yeah, and I don't want to. We're getting sideways here. We have squares and signs, and I really want to focus this on signage. The squares.
I don't think it's a misfocus. What I think is we are conflating two conversations, which is maybe confusing it a little bit. That's how I see it.
I mean, I kind of disagree. I think squares and signs both reflect the image of our town, but are tools in different toolboxes. A sign is something that is one of the very first things you see. It's the first impression, whereas a square can be a meeting place, a gathering point. It's a focal point of the community. So they are both, they both very important. I think they both hold separate conversations.
Right.
I think, going back to the sign, I'm going to go back to Hoffer Park. I really advocated for a new sign down there. We have 2 telephone poles with a piece of plywood that's been there from the 60s. And the response I got was, well, we have one, why spend money on a new one? We have $1 million playground there. At several of these locations, we have already signs. So why even waste spending the couple $1,000s when we already have an existing sign there? So my problem is, if we're going to do something, we should do it right. We have a signage problem across the borough of Middletown, in my opinion. We haven't even moved forward with Hoffer Park. Hoffer Park is done, or Little Middletown. Spent $1 million on the place. We still have 2 telephone poles down there. I don't know why we can't do something down there with our signs. But going back to these signs, I'm not a fan of them. I really am. I'm not a fan of them. It's not a hill I'm willing to die on. I understand there's 5 locations and, maybe 3 of the locations have to be a PennDOT approved sign and maybe there's another location that could have something different. I don't have enough data. I don't think I have enough data tonight to make a good decision. And that is kind of where I'm at I have a data issue. There's 1,000 questions.
Okay. But
That's
we
where
do
I'm
have a motion on the floor, right?
Right.
Was there anybody else, excuse me?
I have a comment, or comments, thoughts. Council, this is a really good thing, honestly. We were talking about signs for our town. I mean, how long has it been since we actually had entrance signs in our town?
Like Greg's gonna answer.
It's in the middle of something. Yeah, Mr. Wilsbach, Pat was in the middle of something.
Oh, I thought he asked me.
No, that's what
I
you can
did
answer.
too.
Well, she said, Greg.
You can answer. Because I am curious.
In 2017, we looked at this, and what happened was when they did the Vine Street Bridge, they took down the sign that's at the entrance down in the back there.
Yeah.
They were wood and just carved out. Now they're made of foam. I think that one's foam. And they took the one down at Vine Street at the bridge because of that. They took the one down up here on Main going east because of the railroad station. And Ann Street, we had none. They did the square over there. I think we just had a little welcome to Middletown. But and it's kind of, I think what you were saying, have nice signs at your entrances if that's all it's allowing you with PennDOT, and then have your square if you want that big beautiful sign, and do something with your square over. But I'm not sure what this sign is or what the is this all the bigger the sign is? Okay, I understand. Yes. So what I was originally looking at were the one downstairs.
Yeah.
And that was tabled, and it never really went anywhere from there. So,
Yeah, even the one downstairs technically doesn't meet what the PennDOT.
Correct. That would have to go outside the right of way.
Well, anyway, that's what I was saying. Thank you, though, for letting me know.
That's what happened to them, and the other ones were just rocks that you can't read.
Yeah. There's like 4 letters left on them wrong.
Correct. So all our signs.
Anyway, my thoughts with this. I honestly see both sides with this. Where I'm at now, sitting here, is this is a good thing for Middletown, and I'm seeing there's a lot of really good things that need to happen for Middletown, and I don't want to get caught up in the next 6 months to a year figuring out what we're going to do with signs and spend tons of money when we're talking about a square. The square totally needs to be redone. That's a lot of money. We're talking about little Middletown, and a sign, I think a huge sign there is going to be great. We're talking about redoing our parks, our whole park system, and connecting them, and good points like, we need to build our community and our businesses. Like our downtown here, I mean, there's a lot that we need to improve. And I think this should be one of the last things we're concerned about and arguing amongst ourselves about. However, I think it's important that we are, but let's not forget this is a good thing. This is a step in the right direction for our town. It's not bad. There are funds that we need to be responsible for. And if it's, hey, we can get $5,000, we can use the Middletown, workers and to do this, and then we can put some more money in some other areas. Does that make more sense? To me, it does.
I'm more in the mindset of spending the money for this project now, like for the signs that we're looking at now.
That's what I'm saying.
And then redoing the square, and I mean really doing the square big.
Yeah, I hear you. I agree. I mean, this is important, but I don't think it's the most important. So let's splurge on the square and have a sign that just says, "Hey, welcome to Middletown," because right now you don't know when you enter it.
But while you're up there, can we visit putting a sign up down at Hoffer Park, or can we get an idea how much it would?
You're in this motion currently.
Well, yeah, okay.
That's a different discussion.
Yeah.
That's my thoughts. But.
Any other questions or comments?
The last thought I have is I'm sorry, did you say Mr. Benson?
Yes.
Mr. Benson, and to what Ms. Willenbecker said regarding transparency. It is not transparent to discuss something at a workshop and then leave the workshop, leave the residents thinking we're not going to vote on it, and then, collectively decide when you have 5 votes and ask the president to put something on the agenda that was not meant to be voted on this evening when we don't have the information, whether it's these signs, bigger, better signs, you know, it doesn't matter. It's the process, and we didn't follow the process, and that's the problem that I have.
Okay.
Not you. I just want you to understand that because I realized it sounded like I was coming at you, and I'm not.
I completely understand.
It's the process. There's a process for a reason.
Yeah, this is reserved for counselors and elected officials. I'm sorry. Anybody else? We do have a motion in a second. Anything else before we go to a roll call?
Yes. So we just had Greg Wilsbach stand up here. Greg, don't worry. Don't get all tight. It's not about you. And I heard how important it was that other information is needed. So, quote, if there's no rush, then let's kick it until we get the information. That is the exact scenario here. Respectfully, Pat, I couldn't disagree more with you on whether or not the signs are the most important. This is Middletown's problem. It cannot get out of its own way. This is the first impression for your town, and frankly, the opinions of the 8 of us are irrelevant. Not one person in between meetings went and spoke to the public about this. I don't want to hear that you spoke to three people at a supermarket. The overwhelming majority, in fact, I don't think there was one comment out of 100 and some comments on my video showing them this signs that were in support of it. Not one. Not one comment in support of it. And we're going to do these signs one time. If we took that approach to major projects, you could stare at that wall right there. It would have been very easy when we tore down Kids Castle, which was rotted and dangerous and in desperate need of repair. I heard about it for years until we raised the money for a feasibility study. We could have replaced that thing with cash for $150,000. That is not what we did because we're better than that. It deserves the opportunity to find out, and I don't care if it costs money because you get one opportunity to be great. Ask yourself if it's worth figuring out the answers to those questions before you make a decision. I go back to how it was when it was time to discuss police finances. I took all the heat because I was willing to listen to an idea about regionalization or contracting services. Why? Because that is your job as elected officials, to listen to every option available and get the answers. You making a decision tonight, you have no idea how much a sign smaller than the Elizabethtown one would cost. You have no idea if a property owner would be willing to say, yeah, let's get it done. It's an easy easement. You have no idea how much Mr. Diamond would charge you to document an easement. You have zero answers to any of those questions, but we're going to move forward tonight because 4 to 5 people on this body want them. I have already presented numerous people in the community that don't want them, and that is who we answer to. And pointing out here to the audience, well, there's a gentleman raising his hand. A couple came tonight to tell you, or at least raise their hand that they don't want them. It's difficult to get people to come to any meeting, no matter the topic. So you have that, and you have the responses to my video. You move forward with what you want, but that is the first impression of this town. The first impression. I know Mr. Abel from Elizabethtown. I know him very well. And yes, with the amount of money he has, it was very easy to put up that sign. But I would like to know what the answers to Jim Diamond documenting an easement. Is a property owner willing to do it? What's the cost of a sign that's grander in scale? Can I fundraise for any of this? Are there grants available for any of this? That's 5 to 6 questions right there that wouldn't take us much time to get the answers to, that we are skipping. And this decision that you make is long lasting. But you answer to who you answer to, so do as you will.
Where's the money? What fund is the money coming from? Do you know? I'm sorry. And that is really my last question.
I could take that out of other grounds maintenance.
So, $25,000 for 5 signs.
No, it's $5,000. It's $1,000 per.
For all of them.
It's $1,000 a sign.
Okay, thank you. Because I thought.
Final comment that Grace, please record. You get what you pay for.
So, $1,000 per sign, 5 locations. Seeing no more questions or comments, Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Yes.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
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 No. Motion carries. Congratulations. We have new signs. Agenda item number 12.
Agenda item 12, do you want to take that? Is that a discussion or do we want, somebody want to make a motion regarding this subject?
Does anybody have any motions to make? Let me ask that.
I want to make a motion. I want to make a motion for our solicitor to engage with Royalton's Borough Council for a joint meeting to talk about this agreement.
So when you say that, I would ethically have to go to the solicitor if you're okay with that, if that's implicit in that motion.
Mhm.
Yes.
Read it. Second.
Okay.
I have a motion by Councilor Lister, second by Councilor Kluskevich. Any questions or comments?
Could you repeat the motion, please?
Oh, I hope I could say the same words
Well,
again.
the point of it, I want to make sure I understand.
Yes, for a solicitor to contact their solicitor of Royalton Borough to organize a meeting between both councils.
Would this meeting be public?
It would have to be,
I would assume so.
So
If-
essentially, it would be like a town, more.
yeah, we'd have to advertise it,
joint-
you know, both of us, Royalton and us.
Open to the public. Okay.
Yeah, if you have a quorum meeting for, official purpose.
Why are we asking the solicitor to do that?
It's just the process of when you go through that and put it on the table.
I mean, no offense, Jim. I don't see any reason to pay Jim to say, can we meet to talk about the fire
Yeah,
department?
they're our neighbors. Can't we just talk to them?
Send a letter that says, per the October or December, whichever one it was, meeting where it was
I think it
offered,
was December.
we're willing to meet with you. I don't know why Jim has to do that.
Yeah, you don't need me to do it, but if I do it, I can't go around the attorney for their counsel.
And also, my caution would be, are we doing this right now?
Yeah, we're open. We're questions.
You already know what their position is. So if you're not willing to cave on your position, there's no reason to do it. If you're willing to do it and cave on what we had discussed previously, then do it.
I have yet to talk to anybody from Royalton Borough, so I'm not going by anything anybody's telling me until I talk to the officials of the borough. We have not sat down with them as a body and discussed anything. It's all been hearsay and conjecture, and hearsay and conjecture, to my best of my knowledge, doesn't stand up in a court of law. So until we sit down with them, I have no discussion.
I mean,
I'm
it's
not
not
making
all.
decisions. I am
not
not
hearsay.
making
It's not
decisions
hearsay.
on fire department without talking to people.
It's
I don't
just for the
care-
record.
I don't care what you say. I don't care what Jim Curry says. Until I sit down and talk to these people, I'm not making a decision.
You might as well throw Ken Kleinpeter in since he also had conversations.
Well, hold on
We're not
here.
trusting anyone apparently.
Just for the record, Royalton Borough, their council has given us official letters. This is not hearsay. This isn't conjecture. I'd be more than happy to sit here and read through these letters that are not hearsay.
I don't have to. I've read the letters. The whole point is we are not conversing as a body with Royalton Borough as a body. I've heard what you've said in that room. I've heard what Jim Curry said in that room. I don't want to hear what you two say anymore. I want to hear from Royalton Borough. We're here to resolve the issue. We need to sit down and talk like adults and figure out how to resolve the issue, not fighting back and forth and threatening people.
Oh wow,
That's what I've heard.
That's a bit of it.
what I've
Don't
heard.
point at me.
Don't start.
Don't point at me. If you're going to throw people under the bus and say, use my full name multiple times like you're trying to intimidate me and point at him and say you don't care what we have to say, you sat in that room too if we're going to blow it up and said they can pound sand.
No,
Yes, you did. Yes, you did. If that's what we're going to do, we're going to be honest about it right here. I am so sick of that hypocritical shit.
You ought to be. Look in the mirror, brother.
My position remains what it is. They should pay per capita.
Okay,
They should-
okay, everybody, let's get this back under control. We understand it is a heated debate. I'd like to remind everybody that we are a team here, and this is about us and our residents. I don't know why we're letting Royalton get under our skin this much.
Because we're not talking to Royalton.
My position for the record remains that Royalton Borough residents should be paying the per capita rate equal to that of every Middletown Borough resident so that we are no longer subsidizing them after decades. That's my position. It's the same as it was in that room. It's the same as it is right here.
Just to put it into context for everybody, because there's the residents probably right now are saying what is going on, because we have a lot of institutional knowledge that isn't out in the public. Long story short, the borough reached out to Royalton to increase the rates of the contract to make it a per capita equal, so that our residents and their residents are paying an equal amounts per capita. Royalton has responded back, and they are not looking to pay more money for their services that are receiving. So currently, the Middletown residents are paying a subsidized rate on a per capita level than what Royalton residents are paying. That's where the arguments and disagreements are coming from. Royalton has stated in their letters, which is, we've sent multiple letters going back and forth with them on the rates, and we're at a standstill, I guess, is what we could say.
Right, President Renninger, to go back, like, what are they paying? What are they paying a year for their fire services for their whole borough?
Royalton pays us, it's what,
$6,826.71.
So we are sending, millions of dollars worth of equipment into their borough. We're receiving $6,000 a year. I mean, the Middletown residents are paying what, six figures a year into the fire department? Is that correct?
Last year, we spent over $200,000 on the fire department.
So Middletown residents are paying $200K, and Royalton residents are paying $6,000. And the problem that I have is not that we're paying more, we're a bigger community. The problem I have is a per capita level. I look at it like this: if a Royalton resident picks up their phone and calls 911, and our ladder truck goes out there, and our pumper truck goes out there, and they're servicing a call, and a Middletown resident picks up the phone and their house is on fire, what happens? Is Middletown just going to pick up and come back? No, it's going to get pushed to the next municipality. So now a Middletown resident is going to be sitting there waiting for another municipality to respond when those services are in Royalton, and they're paying $6,000 a year for it at a subsidized rate.
When was, the best of our knowledge, when was the
I'm assuming. I mean,
I don't know.
I couldn't imagine our firefighters would just leave a fire and say, "Well, we got another phone call. See ya." I
don't know.
Units would be diverted from the incoming call. We would end up splitting. It's called a unified chain of command. That's how it would work. If I was running the show and we were on a fire in Royalton and a fire came in Middletown, as units were responding in, no matter what, if it's Middletown or it's Royalton, it's not just Middletown coming to that call. It's not just Middletown going to Royalton if it's a house fire. It's the countywide mutual aid agreement that was adopted by every municipality in the county back in 1993. So as those units are coming in, if something would come in Middletown, of course I'm going to call and say, Engine 59, which is Lower Shodera, what's your location? We're just entering the borough of Middletown. Divert and go to, and send them to that one.
You're making you've kind of made my point, and I'm not a firefighter, so you have to excuse me. But what you just said proves my point. You're in Middletown. You're 2 minutes away. You're right here, right? You're in the borough.
Yep.
The department's in the borough. Now you're in Royalton, and your truck is pumping water onto a fire. You're calling the next company, Lois Swadera, Royalton, Derry Township. Where are you at? Well, we're 10 minutes out. Well, I guess they're 10 minutes out. So the problem is now you have a Middletown resident, okay, that's paying a much higher per capita rate, waiting, whether it's 5 extra minutes, 10 extra minutes, 15 extra minutes, for another department to service them, because our services are deployed in Royalton. I just don't think that's fair for our Middletown resident. I just don't think it's fair.
Middletown, as of the last census, had 9,533 residents. Royalton had 1,134. It's a total of 10,667. You know what the global numbers were from last year. Royalton, if you take that populace, represents 11% of the population serviced by our volunteer fire department. They contribute 4% of what we give them every year. That's ridiculous. The people of Middletown, if they wake up to this issue, are going to be very upset about that. So I have no problem servicing Royalton at all. However, if you're 11% of the populace that's serviced, you should be paying 11% of the total expenditure to the volunteer fire department.
So, if I may, I as a fire chief, I know this is a contract between Middletown and Royalton. The backstory is something that I just said to you guys a few minutes ago about the countywide agreement. I commend those that want to go sit, talk, hash it out, and try to figure out a way to move forward with the agreement. Because if the day comes that the agreement is not reached between Middletown and Royalton, Middletown will still be obligated to respond over there. We're just doing it for free now. And that is signed by Barb Lane as council president and Sue Sides as the secretary in 1993.
So
That's a countywide contract. I can't say no. I can't refuse service. And we're going to be on the boxes. It's either going to be for free or whatever we can do.
So my question to that, and I can't wrap my head around this, is then why is Middletown? Why doesn't Middletown just get free service from Lois Whatever Township? Why are we paying?
You do. They come in on 90% of our calls, according to that paperwork that I passed you from the Right to Know. Mutual aid received is mutual aid from other departments coming into Middletown Borough, and that is 90% of our calls.
Stevie, can you tell me in Dauphin County how many municipalities don't have a department?
You have Rush Township. You have a lot of upper counties don't have departments. Lower county, you don't really see many municipalities that don't. A lot of your upper county rely on other ones. You have Wayne Township.
How about
doesn't
Lower
have-
Dauphin County?
Lower Dauphin?
Down this way.
Conewaga Township doesn't have a fire department. They sublet, they get their services from Hershey, Elizabethtown, and Londonderry.
Do they pay or is it free?
No, they pay.
So it's so pretty much what I'm gathering is if you don't have your own community or if you don't have your own fire services, you do pay for it because these other communities are paying for it.
100%. You have to. You either have to have a service or pay for a service.
So if we don't have a contract with them, then they don't have a service. They have to go somewhere else.
Correct. What I'm
Yeah,
saying
they can
is,
actually go contract directly with them and pay the 11% to them, and you just cut back the amount you're paying. That's, you know, they would cover, they would go negotiate if they're going to be the borough of Royalton under the borough code, statewide borough code, has the right to pay them the money. They're going through the contract, you know, from the 50s here to secure that. But you could just unilaterally cut back the 11% without any agreements, and they can just go to them and say, pay it or we're not primary, or you get another primary.
Problem solved.
You gotta explain that again.
We can
So-
just, if we're paying
You would never have to do it for free. You just say we're, you know,
yeah, either
we're
way
not
you look
paying
at it,
that
like,
percentage.
we can't
Royalton with contract.
we can't afford either way you look at it to not provide them services because we're still going to be there every single call. It's just hypothetical. They go on the market and they're looking for another contractor and they would contract with Londonderry Township. Middletown responds to Londonderry Township on all structure fires.
Yep.
But
So we're still going to respond to Royalton on all structure fires, but now we're doing it for free.
we understand that.
We are doing it
But
for free. We're doing it
on-
for
on the
$6,000.
financial end, when we're talking about percentages, in 2017, I believe it was, we significantly increased the contribution to Middletown Fire Department. I believe it was by $50,000 a year. And the Royalton contribution has remained static for many years, maybe decades. We can't even find the current agreement. We found an older one that said at one time they contributed, I think, $3,000, but we can't find the agreement. And I asked if Royalton had it, and they couldn't produce it either. So we, as a borough, it would only make sense to get a new agreement in place with them.
Understood. And I'm not saying that I don't think the numbers would be a fair number. I don't know. What's the number that we're looking to make Royalton meet?
I think it was 11,000.
It would cost $36.59 for each taxable parcel
Per year.
per year.
So there,
So if you own a parcel in Royalton, your contribution to the fire department, you'd have to give up 3 Starbucks.
to paint another picture is they'd go from $6,000 to $26,000 a year.
Is it something I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and do the
No, you're
negotiating
right.
or anything like that. I'll talk with you guys afterwards, one-on-one, if you'd like. I had some ideas after I heard about it all, just to throw out when you guys have your meeting with them. However you wanna do it.
My position is Middletown Volunteer Fire Department has come to us multiple times. They're growing. The economy is changing. They have more needs, and they're coming to us to seek those needs. Funding needs. You have a deficit, correct?
I'm gonna tell you right now, just talking with Sally downstairs. Next year, hopefully the pumper truck will be paid off fully with all the gaming grant, awards that we've received. The next fire truck is due. It's at its 20-year mark.
Well,
20 years for NFPA, and I'm at a $1 million replacement on that fire truck in 2 years. So those are just the things. You're right. We're growing. It's growing.
So my where I'm coming from is I cannot ask the Middletown residents to spend one more penny towards the fire department if we're not going to hold our neighbors to the same standard. It's not fair to me for you to come in here and say we need a roof and our residents shell out another 30, or you come in here and say we have a deficit of 20 grand and our residents shell out another 20, and Royalton is getting the same, if not just as equal service, and they're paying $6,000. It's not fair to our residents, and I can't in good conscience cast another vote to give more money when we're not going to hold our neighbors accountable.
Correct.
So what the last thing being said is, the last thing I'm going to say to this is, if it's not important enough for us to go get more money from them, then it's really not, then you obviously don't need it that bad.
No, I'm not saying not to go have this meeting. That's what I'm agreeing to, the meeting, and have the council sit down. I will gladly come to the meeting too to answer any fire questions, as we did earlier when you had asked how it worked. I'll answer anything like that I can. I'll open myself up to be available that evening. I agree 100%.
Yeah, it sounds like you could support, here's how much the big pot is, and if you have 11%.
We just all need to be on the same page.
The
That's
per
all I
capita
wanna
in
do.
it, you gotta
Like
understand.
Ms.
it's a much
Wellenbecker
more
said, the
cost.
transparency matters. If we're gonna be transparent, let's do it.
No, but I just can't wrap my head around, and I say this. If you're sitting here saying that we'll give them free service no matter what, then I'm thinking,
We're obligated by
but
law,
okay,
Mr. President.
here's what I'm saying. Then why does Middletown even have anything? Why don't we just go to Derry Township and say you're going to give it to us for free?
No,
Why?
you have to sublet. You still, if you don't have a service, you gotta do it. The mutual aid agreement.
Listen, what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
instead of giving the fire department $250K a year, why don't I just go to Derry Township and give them 10 and get free service?
Because when Genesis Court catches on fire, it's going to be catastrophic.
They
That's
have to.
why.
They have to come.
The time.
But the time frame that it'll take from them to get from Hershey to Middletown would take about 15 minutes, and by that time, it's gone.
Exactly right. And if Middletown is in Royalton and they're busy and Derry Township has to come in, you're exactly correct. Our resident will wait an extra 15 minutes.
No, the likely scenario is.
I'm sorry, can I just say
whatever.
something? We have a motion and a second, correct?
Yep.
So I just want to say that I agree with it being fair, but as I said a week ago, that in order to make any type of decisions, I do feel that we need to sit down and have a meeting with them. So I am glad to see this has come out, and that's what we're voting on. So I would like to vote on it now because that's what the motion is.
I want I want to sit down.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're gonna vote.
Okay.
So you can vote.
I can vote.
So we're making a motion that's going to direct the solicitor to do the work, not us.
Well,
Not,
if you wanna amend that, I guess is the question, cause,
Right.
you know.
I'm willing to. I mean, what is the council as a
What's the
whole?
process? What's the correct process for us to sit down in a public meeting with
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
borough
mean, anybody
president?
can do the reach out, and then you just schedule a meeting, and you get to a table, and you know,
I'd even
townships will have to, or both boroughs will have to advertise it,
So
but
can we get Mr. Klein
not a big
here
deal.
to make that?
here's
out?
I have one. I'd actually like us right now, while we're sitting at this table, why don't we pick a date 30 days from now and give it to Royalton and ask Mr. Klein Peter, will this date work for you? Why don't we give him 2 dates? Why don't we
I was
come
gonna,
up
out
with?
of fairness, we should propose two as they come to us.
Right.
Why don't you just see if they're willing to meet first? Then you can pick dates after they say yes. Then
Well,
you
that's fine,
go back.
but we
and
need
forth.
to do something.
And
So can you just call them and ask?
Like
The
if they're willing to meet.
I think you should vote to direct me to send
Yeah.
them an email.
Okay.
All right.
I'm
In
gonna
response to that.
amend my motion. I'm gonna ask, Manager Klein Peter over here, to contact, Royalton Borough and their council to arrange a meeting between both councils in regards to the, Royalton Middletown, fire agreement,
Fire agreement.
A public meeting.
a public meeting.
Intergovernmental.
What do you think? Was that good?
It was very good.
I need a
You were
second.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilor Lister, a second by Councilor Reed. Any questions or comments? Madam Secretary, call the roll.
You're hurrying it, aren't you?
Yes.
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 Yes. Motion carries. Mr. Kleinfeeder, we await your response. Agenda item number 13.
Do I have a motion to approve the Pennsylvania Human Relations Conciliation Agreement between the Borough of Middletown and James Bennett?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Councilor Kluskevich, second by Councilor Reed. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Actually,
I'm sorry.
Oh,
I cannot stress enough how much I am against this settlement. So I don't have a vote, but as the head of the department, I think it's absolutely disgusting that you would vote to settle this. It's my opinion.
Any other comments? All those in favor?
aye.
Oppose?
Aye.
Motion carries with one no. At this time, do I have general public comment?
James?
Just to digress one moment, I think you need to understand the mutual aid agreement that we currently have with our brothers and sisters in the area. If there is a fire reported in a structure in Middletown, the Air Guard, Lower Swannara, Londonderry, Middletown simultaneously get dispatched. When Kenny talks about diverting, they're already moving. They're not coming from Hershey or Hummelstown or wherever. They're already moving. So that delay is somewhat limited. That's why we have the response that we do. You're overstating the delay here to get help if we're tied up in Royalton and there is a need for Middletown service. You're overstating that. The second thing I have, and this is, I hate to bring this up, what can the Middletown Fire Department do to atone for the sin of talking to Royalton? And that's all it was a conversation about putting the words proudly serving the boroughs of Middletown and Royalton on a vehicle. What can we do to get that behind us?
I didn't realize that was even on the table.
I didn't either.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me.
Doesn't matter to me.
I don't care.
I'll speak up on it because I feel like it's directed at me.
No, I don't know where it came from.
Well, I know about the meeting. My gripe was not that was asked of Royalton. I'm cool with that being put on the trucks. Well, let me finish. You asked the question. I'm totally fine with that being on the trucks. My only point about that request being made to Royalton was, I think in the same breath, the Middletown Volunteer Fire Department could have said to Royalton, hey, we service you and our roof is bad. So would you be willing to write a check this year to help with the roof? That's my only point. If we can make a request that they have their name on the truck, would they support that? I think that also a request could be made to Royalton. We are in need. We are your volunteer fire department and we have needs and it's a tough time right now. Would you be willing to cut a check? That's my point.
Okay. So the words aren't the problem.
No.
The words aren't the issue.
Not at all.
Okay, thank you. I'll let it go at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Whelan. Any other general public comment?
Do I count?
Go for it.
I would hope that whenever the dates are that someone from the fire department could be there at the meeting and maybe they could be included when the dates are set so they're aware of it and not having to rely on seeing an advertisement that you may or may not see.
Fair point.
Is there any time that you're not available, Ken?
I'll look at the dates, it depends if I
Right.
have another meeting or something like that, but I'll just.
Okay.
Change your schedule.
At this time, do I motion, or do you
I
have,
have one more thing.
go for it.
So at a recent meeting, a resident came and shared with us that on Market Street, there were open utility trailers that were heaped up with
Junk.
junk. And I know Council Miller went down and said, oh, yes, and took some photographs. So I'm just wondering what could be our next step to talk to that person. I don't know what an ordinance is covers
So if
that.
it's on the street, that's a Dan question.
Oh,
These are on the street?
they are on the street.
Yeah.
Did you get the boat?
Has been tagged, yes.
Good.
So we've talked about this before, parking restrictions in the borough. You can park any place you want legally, unlimited amounts of time if your vehicle is operational, registered, and inspected. There's restrictions on certain types of vehicles in the borough. Those are RVs, boats over a certain size, which none of the boats you see parked along the streets are over that size, and utility trailers over 40 or 50 feet. I forget exactly what it is. The only vehicles that are effectively banned by that are like tractor trailers and RVs. And you've known from my previous presentations to council that we've made a concerted effort of getting people to move their RVs through letters and through education. And we've only issued one ticket in 2 years on getting people to move their RVs. We've issued a few tickets for vehicles parked that were tractor trailers, and specifically on Catherine Street in the gravel park. That's been addressed. So technically, a vehicle that's an inspected trailer that appears to be operational can park as long as it wants with as much crap in the back of it as it wants to, according to the ordinances that presently occur in the borough. There's some suggestions that I could make on how to address that. You could amend your ordinance to include open trailers containing non-equipment type items would need to be covered and tarped and strapped down. Vehicles that, define what is in the back of the trailer. Is it garbage? Is it scrap? Is it drywall for my new project? What's junk? What's not junk? You could define those things. The vehicles on Market Street, we keep up on most of those vehicles. We've tagged them in the past. They get the vehicle registered, then it's legal. So if we come across an unregistered trailer that appears to be operational, we throw an abandoned vehicle sticker on it. We send them a certified letter in the mail, and as long as they remedy the problem before it's time to tow, the vehicle is now legal. So one of the things we could do is think of tarping trailers. There's some other things we talked about before about making trailers attached to vehicles like other places do, not allowing unattended trailers. They're all over town. I think we've beaten that dead horse that's something that we are okay with, having trailers parked. But the problem is we have a particular person who has several trailers which are full of junk. And it's very unsightly.
Well, then, is that something then that, with your suggestions and the solicitor with ordinance language, could put something together and come back to us?
Well, what Dan is saying is if you do it, you're not going to pick that one person and move
Sure.
3 trailers.
You would have to define.
There aren't gonna
No, I
be
know that. But
unhitched
And
trailers.
there are, for example,
that's not the
Fry
only
Avenue.
example in town.
Yeah,
It's just that it was a recent resident.
Fry Avenue, there's a boat that has like a screen door, a bicycle, and a wheelchair in it. Clearly, the boat is being used as a utility trailer, not a boat. That would fit the definition of requiring to be tarped and covered. But a tarp trailer doesn't necessarily look much more attractive than I might tarp my trailer nice and neat with a brand new tarp, and my neighbor might not do quite as good a job as I do.
Here's my thought on this, and it's a very, very slippery slope. I will say I live down on Hoffer Street, and since I moved in from then until now, I have seen a 95% increase. It looks way better than it used to look. Down with the trailer park on Hoffer Street, it used to be RV, boat, central. It was hideous. I think globally, since I've been here on this council and whatnot, the community is looking much better than what it was. Where I get reservation is I know there's always that one person that wants to ruin it for everybody else. I just think we should really be careful about over legislating based upon 1, 2, 3, 4 people. That's just my opinion. I'm not saying there isn't a problem. I'm not saying we can't address a problem. I just think we should be very cautious of over legislating on a couple bad apples. I did see the pictures. It is very hideous. I do agree with it. They could throw a tarp over it. It would look just as bad, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think for me, even that example, and I know we're not picking examples because there are many examples, but that almost looks unsafe because it's so piled up. I don't know. So I don't know if there's a safety issue that's part of piling things up in open utility trailers.
When a vehicle is in motion, the requirement that the load be properly secured applies. I don't believe that applies when a vehicle is parked. So until that vehicle would go into motion, the safety issue is I'm not saying it's not a good idea.
I understand what you're saying.
There's other options too. Utility trailers full of non-work related issues might have a parking time limit to them because clearly you're doing a business of some type. It's not like your boat's parked in front of your house in in December, you're clearly not moving your boat. But if you have a trailer full of scrap, maybe it shouldn't be there more than 4 or 5 days, or there are some other suggestions.
No, and I get it. The problem our community faces is a big section of our population doesn't have driveways. So people may buy a trailer and they need somewhere to put it. It needs to go on a street. And they don't have necessarily the luxury of keeping it attached to a vehicle all the time. And then if you do that, then somebody will go buy a junk car and it'll attach it. Now instead of having one spot taken on the street, you have 2 because they're okay. Well, I'll go buy myself a $500 car and I'll.
So are we open to just kind of? I agree with you. The borough does look better, but I still feel that on behalf of the residents, it's just something that we need to continue to look at. I'm not singling anyone out.
One more comment. I think this guy's doing a business too. That's different than my personal trailer. I clean my yard out. He's got multiple trailers there full of scrap. He's either doing a business, which doesn't make it illegal, but again, it's just a different aspect of this particular location.
Could you perhaps prepare something with your suggestions, the ones that you just brought up tonight, and any other ones that you may have in your report at the workshop, so it gives us something to look at, and then we can kind of discuss which ones, if we're in favor of tarps, or is it something where you just said that, if it's filled with stuff, it has to be moved in a certain amount of days, just like the RV, where they have a certain amount of time
They
to
have
leave it.
72 hours for
Those types of things that you were bringing up that we could look
That's
at.
a good idea.
And kind
Because
of,
while I appreciate this person might have a business, if that's your business, then you should have a storage unit,
right.
not
require,
just sitting out on your resident streets.
And it would require a definition of what's
that's
crap,
right.
what's garbage, what's household goods, what's not. An open trailer with a lawnmower and a push lawnmower and 3 rakes and a shovel.
That's a landscaping trailer.
Yeah, that's somebody's lawn
But
service.
then I got 8 2x4s in the back because I'm going to put a shed up in the guy's backyard. It gets complicated.
It gets
I will
very
I will
complicated.
put together a list of suggestions and ideas that I can present that we could consider.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Second.
Nothing.
Thank you,
for seconding it.
Thank you, everybody. I know this was a good.
Yeah, I don't really have anything.